Hi, Christine. Hi, Luke. Here we are.
Hi,
Hello.
Nat.
Thank you for taking the time to do this interview with me.
We're excited
Of
to
course.
talk more about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's get started with your introduction. Who are you? Where you are along this family building journey?
I'm Christine,
I'm Luke.
and we have a 10-month-old Florence Hazel. We call her Flo.
Mhm.
And so we're pretty early on, I would say, in our family building, although we've been together a long time.
Mhm.
So I guess our family building has been going on at least that long.
Yeah.
And we would hope to have more kids in the future, though. um, though Florence Hazel is plenty of joy and like excitement and challenge in and of herself too.
Yes. We love it when she joined the classes.
I hope she won't join right now because she's asleep, but
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Yeah. And please tell us a little bit more about maybe the problems or issues you were navigating at the time of joining the program, or maybe some things you want to achieve or change.
well, we're two white parents and we have a white kid.
Yeah.
In the current world climate of a pandemic, of racial reckoning, of white supremacy culture. And I would say we sometimes still feel and often felt trapped in feeling either shame, paralysis, not really knowing what to do or how to help or how to be, how to reckon with who we are. And we love both of our families a lot and have a lot of help from especially both of our moms with caring for Flo. And we've learned so much from them about how we want to raise her. But we are also different than they are. And we are also parenting during a different time than they were, when they had little kids like Flo's age. And so we just wanted to know more about how to integrate social justice into our growing family. And yeah, did you add anything?
Yeah, we both come from big families with lots of siblings as well. And so both have parents who rely a lot on tradition and a lot on doing things a certain way. And so wanted to navigate other opportunities to potentially bolster what we had seen them do, as well as try new ways as well. So yeah, opening our eyes to new ways.
And so what I'm hearing both of you said was integrating social justice into your parenting and integrating new ways of parenting.
Yes.
So what impact would that make in your family building journey to do those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have struggled with feeling confident in my parenting or feeling like I can trust my own intuition or my own kind of internal guidance. I often look outward for like validation, affirmation of like what I'm supposed to be doing and how our family should look. And so, yeah, I think that engaging in a lot of the things that the course taught us helps me to bolster that and really honor that too. And we want to live rooted in our community. We want to care for our neighbors and our families, and we want to be cared for by them. And we want that for our kids as well. Kid.
Yes.
Child.
You're planting that seed, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want a child who thinks outward as well as inward. We want a child who can be rooted in her identity, but also doesn't stay there, uses that to benefit the community around her as her ultimate goal. So that is why we feel like we want to learn that balance better.
Yes. When Flo grows up, I want to be her friend.
Me too.
Right? Yeah. And if I look down, I'm looking at the questions, the interview questions. So just so you know.
No problem.
Hmm. And what are the three parts of the program? The in, which is self-reflection, out, which is storytelling, and through is the body-based practice that made the biggest difference for you?
For me, the body-based practice was a big difference for me. It was pretty eye-opening. I feel like as we went through the program, we had more and more conversations about doing certain things like sifting and other things that incorporated the body into the thought and emotional process. And that for me was new and also very eye-opening in terms of kind of a new dimension of how to engage, whether it's past pain or how I'm feeling in the moment or whatever it is. It's another way to engage whatever's happening and to process it fully, and to also feel like I have more direct control over my thoughts and my emotions by how I engage my body. So yeah, that was probably the most eye-opening for me.
Thank you, Luke. Yep.
I think for me, two things. One, really thinking about our parents as people and helping to increase that compassion and the context during sometimes stressful conversations where I'm asking myself, like, why does this feel so intense or loaded? And just seeing our parents in more of that context. So that's definitely one. And another is so validating to discuss the ongoing impacts of systemic oppression and to put our behaviors in context of survival resources, helping us understand a little bit better about why the desire to, as Nat taught us, as you taught us, to contort, conform, and perform, and how that can be so strong. Like I never thought that I would consider sleep training my kid, but here I am like Googling it and looking for like sleep consultants. And I'm definitely tired, but like, is it really that's motivating me? Or is it this societal pressure that I need to produce for the capitalist system? Or I need to like lose the baby weight and look good for the patriarchy system, be able to do it all instead of actually reading my baby and her cues and my cues and what feels and is right for us.
Yeah, I'm hearing Chris and hearing both of you reflecting back to me. I feel so grateful to get to do this work with you. And Christine, you have this new kind of lens of awareness to bring in this discernment, right? Is it my stuff? Is it society stuff? And Luke, you really are keen on the body-based as the framework or lens.
Yeah, at first I was pretty resistant, and then I came around. Nat, you really helped me open up to that.
Say more about that, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at first when we would do the sifting practice and we would engage, you would ask very intentional questions about where we were experiencing different sensations in the body or how we were engaging with the topic physically, not just mentally or emotionally. I was skeptical to, you know, and that's probably a lot of just ways I've been taught, or just to not engage the body on the same level as I do other parts of me. And so when you first mentioned that, I kind of was resistant or thought, I don't see how that's really related to what is happening. And then once I allowed myself to try it, I realized, wait a minute, I actually do notice certain sensations when I'm having certain feelings or certain thoughts, or I can actually do certain things or manipulate my body in certain ways to then experience different things. So yeah, and just realizing more and more that we live in a physical body that's interconnected with everything else going on. So
right, that it's not just our head and our thinking. Yeah, and I so appreciate your honesty, Luke, and that you moved at your own pace. Right? Even though I presented the content, right? You moved at your own pace, and I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah.
How about for you, Christine? Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, the body-based practices too, I really were just so immediately applicable to and really relevant to life ongoing. Even earlier today, I was feeling like really flooded, really overwhelmed. And I just asked Luke, like, can I just have a minute? And I went and just like laid in my bed and took a second to like just touch base. And, you know, as a parent, you don't always have like more than 30 seconds to do that. But that's all I needed was to kind of like, just, okay, what's really going, you know, I don't even feel like there were words going on. It's just kind of like this. And then I came back out and I made a decision, and we just, you know, I asked to take a walk like earlier in the day than we usually do. And I thought about how, like, even though Flo doesn't understand the words that I'm saying, you know, she hears me sighing, and like when I'm stressed, she hears like frustration in my voice. She sees my face change like after a tough meeting. And I can communicate to her that like, okay, when this happens, yeah, it's really hard, and like maybe there's something that we can try, like let's go outside and take some deep breaths. And so like she got to hear that and see that, and I feel like the energy really did change. I was like, you know, thank you, Luke, for you also like dropped stuff so that we could go outside all together, come back in, and then like re-engage with work and
teamwork.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you model that, right, Christine?
Exactly.
You model that so that you can do it with Flo and give her that example. And when you lay down and took that breath to check in, how long did it take?
How long? Yeah, no, it really, I mean, like I said, like 30 seconds probably of just like, okay, you know, and then I got up, we continue moving, and yeah.
Yep. I'm just happy to hear that you honored yourself first. Put your mask on first, right? Yeah, because we tend to override our needs so much.
Right. Absolutely.
And what other changes take place in your day-to-day parenting?
Yeah, I feel like I often find myself asking, like, whose goal is this? And I already kind of touched on this, but just kind of reevaluating like why I have this urge to do something, or why something feels so important. And sometimes it is like, yeah, this is really like what I want to do. But sometimes it's also like, wait, who says that this is important? And like, why is this feeling so urgent right now? And I think it really helps me to have compassion on myself too, about how hard it can be to make intentional parenting choices, and that we all have autopilot sometimes, and that it's a matter of that awareness about what you're okay with being on autopilot about, versus what feels really important in us to do in a certain way, and what values and priorities that reflects. And as you always say, like most of the time, right? Like not 100% of the time, but like most of the time.
Right.
But that we really matter as parents, and our kid really matters, but it doesn't mean loving her doesn't mean like just giving everything up of who we are. Throughout the course of the course, I had shared an example of how with breastfeeding, I was just like insistent on like, well, if this is painful for me, then I just need to kind of grit my teeth through it and like get through it, because this is what's best for her and I just have to do it. And come to find out that in fact, the pain that I was experiencing like meant that I actually needed treatment and like a break from breastfeeding. And it's not even what's best for her getting the most milk. Like my pain was actually a really important indicator of like, we need to get some help and like reevaluate what's going on here, not just like, oh, grit your teeth and get through it. So I feel like that really helped, that unfortunate example, like really helped kind of put legs to the theories that we talked about. Like, oh yeah, like it's not as simple in some ways as just saying like, whatever she needs, I just need to do, and that's it. It's like, no, we both matter and we both are important. We all are important. And how do we hold that and move in that way. So
Yeah. Wow, that example is very, very clear, Christine. Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate that you said it's not easy. Being intentional sounds so great in theory, but in practice, it takes a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for the examples. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, with our 6 weeks together, the first part was about decolonized parenting, where we looked at social justice and systemic oppression. And then the second half was about intergenerational family wellness, resilience, and trauma. What stood out to you? Was there any particular week that really like stayed with you?
Yeah, I think for me, early on learning just about the history of different parenting styles, I think it was week 2, if I'm remembering correctly,
Yes.
where we talked about history of different parenting styles. It was beneficial to see where some of not only my own parents' style of parenting might have come from, but generations and generations that sometimes go unquestioned or unchallenged, and we just kind of do things because that's how we've done them for a long time, or that's because how our neighbors do them, and so I think, and this goes back to your last question a little bit too, Nat, I think just being intentional in decision making and being willing to have the courage to ask, is this really, kind of like Christine was saying, whose idea is this? Is this my idea, or is this passed on to me? If it is passed on to me, is it an idea worth saving? Because some are worth saving and some are probably not. So not necessarily throwing everything out and starting over, but also not accepting things just because. So I think for me, learning a lot about the history and a lot about, decisions that have been made in the cultural context, but also that have been carried on probably past their usefulness. And also a little bit of the ridiculousness of what we used to think. And it also makes me worry that in 100 years from now, people are going to look back on our parenting and giggle. But I think that, to just put it in context of how we pretty easily accept things without challenging them.
Yeah, we talk about in the program, we talk a lot about context, right? And then bring in that intentionality, what to unsubscribe, what to upgrade. And I'm almost nervous to ask you this. What was it like for you to just, think about context, maybe come up with a new script of new ways to do things? And I don't provide you, these are the 5 steps to become a really awesome parent.
Good question.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I'm understanding what you're asking too, Nat, like I almost feel that tension of freedom and wanting some type of boundary, because I feel like I don't want anyone to tell me, well, good luck, just make it up, don't take direction from anybody, because that's terrifying. I mean, I've never been a parent before, and to be thrown, and even each child is different, and to just be thrown in without any direction is overwhelming. But at the same time, just like we talked about, too many unchallenged or unquestioned traditions can also cause hurt and unnecessary division or pain or whatever. So I think honestly, intentionality is what I took out of this, is when I make decisions or decide to utilize different things, it's not like I'm pulling from a blank slate, but more so like I'm pulling from a bookshelf and I have 100 different options and I'm deciding which one is best.
Right. Love all the analogies, Luke. Thank you.
I'm looking at a bookshelf, so I can't really take credit for that.
Right.
I would add that one of my favorite aspects was doing it together and like getting to touch on like, what is our parenting mission statement, and what do we want to do in our parenting. And I think we have those kind of conversations because that's kind of nerd I am, but I feel like just having some guidance around that, and just those specific questions and prompts to help us think through together what's important to us was really helpful.
Thank you. And for me, for selfish reasons, seeing you work through things together, that was really fun for me too. Deeply enriching.
To both participate.
Yep. Yeah. And just thinking about Luke's point about, you're just looking at a bookshelf right now. And that just speaks to you already have the resources around you. Right? Yeah. If
I
could have
really enjoyed too the Destiny's Child analogies. Christine particularly.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Do you want to say more about that for people who are listening and not sure what you were referring to?
I never realized how deeply meaning Destiny's Child really is. I thought it was this superstar music group from the 90s, but there's so much meaning behind it. No, but I really am serious. Like, you really did extrapolate a lot of different personality styles and a lot of different ways to approach the world through that. It was pretty incredible. Did you have any?
Yeah, I mean, I think you made a lot of topics really accessible by putting them in different, we keep using the word context, but just I think we needed context to help put context to everything else. And so it made it really approachable when you're asking about it's a lot harder to just answer point blank, what do you do under pressure? Or what do you do when you feel like, I don't even know exactly how you would word this question, but I feel like it helped.
Yeah, and for people who are watching, the Destiny's Child exercise was all about looking at 3 types of attachment styles, but in a different creative context. Because as you have gone through it, when sometimes we look at our own childhood wounds, it's so personal, it's so intimate, and sometimes we need to kind of shift gears and look at it from a new lens.
Exactly.
Sometimes Beyonce, Kelly, and Michelle come to our rescue.
For us, I know. And similar to that, the supermodel poses, which help to help with regulation and knowing some ways to interact with our own bodies to feel more centered and calm in the moment. And I appreciated all of those. I don't even know how to categorize them, but just creative and approachable. That word just keeps coming to mind. Ways of engaging these tough topics. I mean, not topics that are always easily talked about or taught.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Because I think body-based practice should not be that complicated. And both of you are so busy already and you have your plates full, and I just want something easily accessible,
memorable, and easy to do.
Yeah. And how was it for you to show up each week and practice? Because we treat each week like a practice session rather than listening to me talk about how to parent and give you lectures.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like a practice, some weeks felt easier to jump in and engage and do, and other weeks maybe it didn't sink in right in that moment, but we learned it and then we practiced it on our own outside, or it kind of sank in a little bit later. And so I appreciate that framing of the time too, that it's not a performance, but it's also not a lecture. It's a practice. It's sharing and practicing together.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had a question slip through my mind. It will come back. Yeah. And this is such a good example of our class, which is we slow things down a little bit, right? Just think together a lot. So I appreciate the modeling. Oh, it came back. So with things that were difficult, Luke, for you, it was like initially the resistance to the body-based practice. Christine, for you, some weeks the practice is really overwhelming. What got you through the sense of overwhelmed?
I mean, I think just understanding the meaning behind it, it feels very meaningful to engage in something so important and something that feels like we can take it with us after we go. Something that does have some practical application to our what we consider one of the most important duties in our lives, which is raising our child. So, the ability to take something and put it into practice right away, sometimes even in the moment, because Florence was in some of our sessions. So to be able to put some of those things to practice right away, I think was why for me, even on long days or when it felt chaotic in the house or I was very tired, still to be able to show up and have a meaningful experience. I think because of the importance of the topic that we're focusing on. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would just add, for some reason I'm noticing right now that my metaphors are like all very violent. I want to be like packs a punch, but what do I want to say? Like, what's a good alternative? Like, it's really, and then I was like, bang for your buck. Like, no, I don't like that either. But just like the impact is like, it was not a super long amount of time, but every session really gave us so much. Mm-hmm. So that I think is what one big part of it for me. And the second is Nat, it's you saying like me first, and you saying I'm here with you and for you, and together, we're gonna keep figuring this out. I feel like your like humble confidence and expertise just really lead the way. Mm-hmm. And that makes a huge difference.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm super honored because, as both of you said, that this job as a parent is so important. And I'm just honored to be a part of the support team. Yeah.
Honored that you're part of our support team too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'm going to go back to the question script.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Please finish this sentence. I almost didn't join because blank.
Limited time. It's difficult. I mean, especially being first-time parents, your whole schedule shifts, and just realizing you really have to prioritize. So when we decided that this was a priority, even so, still difficult to make space and time for even the most smallest things in our day, but especially this. So
Luke, yeah.
And Nat and I have had conversations about this, but money is an important resource, and it's something that I feel like, Nat, you really helped me, like, I keep using, put my money where my mouth is, kind of like, just, I talked through with you, like, well, how much do I spend on like a workout class or like the latest stroller, and I would say we're not super frivolous in general, like, try not to be super frivolous. We try to be good stewards of the resources that we have, but I feel like it was kind of eye-opening to be like, oh yeah, like, this is a worthy investment, and this is a way to live my values in a way that I want to. I want to, just as I'm trying to train my body and my, spend money on healthy food and things like that, like, this feels important. And so I really appreciated the chance to do that.
Thank you for trusting me with that. And to be completely honest, I'm still feeling this weight in my chest too, because there's shame around being a therapist, charging money when I shouldn't feel that, but I'm working through that with you. So thank you for that opportunity.
And yet, like, you couldn't, like, what you're offering, like, money can't buy it too, you know, like helping people be aware of their bodies, helping people in their parenting journey. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's priceless in a way, like even in the way that you're saying, like, oh, therapists shouldn't charge money. It's almost like, yeah, because you can't put a price tag on some of those benefits, you know?
Thank you. And both of you brought in the work and the practice and the discussion that really took it to the whole new level. Yeah. Who would you recommend this program to and why?
I mean, when we first were thinking about who would we recommend this to, I think, you know, some things came to mind, like first-time parents. We're first-time parents, and that's our experience, and this was really beneficial. I think for me, socially justice-minded would be something that, you know, so if that's something that, whether because of recent events or because that's some way that you're wired, I think that would be really beneficial to know how to channel some of that, those feelings or some of those thoughts of how do I put into practice all of these big, complicated conversations I'm having around social justice? How do I actually start to like make those practical? So I think anyone who's socially justice minded or finds that important or reads the news, yeah, I think, but actually after a while, just realizing, oh, I also thought, and I have very limited experience with this, but maybe adoptive parents, parents who maybe have a child who comes from a different family, a different culture, and are wondering how to weather some of the conversations around bringing in their own traditions, but also respecting the child's own background. So that I think could be beneficial as well. After all of that, I think I also realized, like, all parents, like I don't know of a parent who wouldn't benefit from this. I think parents even who are on their 6th or 7th child could really benefit from this.
And I would add, like, all different backgrounds, races, like as white parents, we really, you know, really engaged the conversations with our certain lens, and we were grateful to have, you know, folks who were not white, and also, you know, yeah, I feel like just a lot of different perspectives was great to have in our group. And I believe everybody took different things that they needed and contributed different things that they had, and folks can benefit across the board.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your time and your insights. Any final words or thoughts?
You should do it.
It's great.
You're so kind. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, everyone who's watching. If you're interested in working together, please feel free to reach out. We'll set up a time and talk. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.